Good morning, everybody. Today's Thursday, the 14th of June, 2018. First chore of the day. So we got that bee swarm captured and put into a hive yesterday, and just kind of follow normal protocol. First thing I need to do today is go confirm they're still there. Assuming they are still there, the next step is to basically make a big batch of one-to-one bee syrup. So that's a lot of sugar right there. That's a lot of sugar. So I'm dipping into our strategic sugar reserve to I don't know how much that is. I mean, that's what, 2 gallons maybe of sugar, 1-to-1 ratio. I'm going to add it to the pressure canner. I'm not going to do it under pressure, but just basically boil it down and make a nice syrup. Cool the syrup down and put it into a bee feeder on top of the hive. So the encouragement there is for them to stay and to feed them while they build up their hive. So they don't have to go out and forage for food. We're just basically providing them with food so they can build their honeycomb and get their brood established and get some babies born and basically just kind of set up shop. Well, the downside is that you don't want to eat the honey that they produce when you're feeding them sugar water. So this fall I won't be harvesting any honey out of that hive, but presuming they stay, presuming they get well fed and they get established and they survive the winter, then come around springtime I won't be feeding them. They're on their own and they'll go out and do their thing, their bee thing, and they'll produce a whole bunch of honey that we can in fact harvest. Well, it looks like the bees stayed. That makes me happy. I just got the sugar water, the syrup heated, and I have to let it cool down. And I'll put a feeder on top of that. And I might actually add the second brood box because they're showing a lot of activity, which is good. So with a feeder, I think they can handle 2 boxes. That's a good sign, though. Worth the effort yesterday. Climbing up on a ladder twice. Risk of falling and breaking my neck, but whatever. It's worth it. Since I had some staining to do on the stand for the soil block seeding trays, I took the opportunity and pulled the 3 doors off of the most recent 3 rabbit cages because they're, I build them to such close tolerances that they're beautiful in terms of how they fit. But then once I get the stain on them, they were sticking a little bit. So I pulled the doors, put them up on the table saw, trimmed them down a little bit. But the moral of the story is because I took the doors off, I took the 3 rabbits that are in the cages and put them out in the cage in the grass. And now I have to babysit the baby bunnies. So there. Come here, guys. They're obviously doing very well. Sleeping like all babies do, getting fat. Look how fat that little guy is. Eyes are just about ready to open, but I had an incident a couple days ago where it was very surprising. I never would have expected it, but I turned my back for like 2 minutes. I basically, hey, there's some open eyes. Yay! Hey, cutie patootie. Anyway, I turned my back for like 2 minutes, opened up the cage, took the mama rabbit out, walked her across the property, came back, and I found 3 of these babies out on the lawn. 2 of them squirming around. Actually, I found 2 of them on the lawn, and a third one was missing. And unfortunately, Hunter, which just surprised the hell out of me, she pulled 3 of these babies out of the nest. I recovered 2 of them, and I think she ate the third one. And I was so mad at her. Man, she was in the doghouse for a day and a half. At the end of the day, I calmed down about it. I realized that these baby bunnies, in all fairness, they look like mice. And she eats mice pretty much every day. So I guess she misinterpreted what they are. But when I just took the doors off the cage, she stuck her big fat nose in this nest and looked at him, and then she looked at me. I think she recognizes now that they're a friend, not foe. But I don't trust her, and I don't want her to get in trouble again, so I'm babysitting baby bunnies. And it's kind of cool. I'm seeing some open eyes. And ears coming up. Look at that ear coming up. Hey, baby. They're like, go away. We were sleeping. All right, go back to sleep. This damn chicken is cracking me up. See her feathers blowing there? She's probably the smartest chicken on the property. Because besides eating bugs on the fly, she's catching flies like in the air. But the funny thing is she's standing right in the direct line of that that blower that's blowing air conditioned air in the garage. I have to keep like hitting her over the head with a stick and going, sweetie, you're gonna get caught up, you're gonna get hit with a nail or something. I don't care. It's so nice and cool in here. Gotta love a chicken that likes air conditioning. Alright guys, here's a quick update on the soil block seeding tray system. I'm going to call it a system now because it's gotten a little bit more complicated, a little bit more complex. But I like it. So what I ended up doing, I decided to do is really to add some features to it to make it a mini greenhouse. Why not, right? So what I did was I took some EMT conduit that I had laying around and I fashioned kind of a outrigger system. So there's a main strut across the top, and then there's a strut here on this end, and a strut or outrigger on that end. And the trays go obviously on the inside. I decided to add a bunch of weep holes, is what I'm calling them. So these rails, which are where the water will, if you can imagine, this is where your seeds and whatnot are. As you may recall from a previous video, this is high end, and this is a low end, so the water is going to run downhill. So when it runs downhill, it's now going to run onto this support beam, which I've drilled a bunch of weep holes in, so the water will not pool in the wood, but will drain down into the ground. And then lastly, but not leastly, now it's a full-blown greenhouse. So you put the UV tarping over it, snap on these guys. Right now, because of the weather, I don't need the greenhouse for heat, so I don't need to generate a bunch of heat. I'm going to use it now just to keep rain and whatnot, you know, all these thunderstorms we have coming through. Keep all that extra water off the seedlings. But in the winter, this is a UV greenhouse, I figured it's 6 mil film. So it's designed for a greenhouse, so it basically will warm up the seeds in the winter, basically just like a greenhouse, and off we go. Also, once I get this thing deployed here in the next couple of minutes and get some seeds in it, this time of year, instead of generating heat, I'm actually going to put sun cloth over the top of this. So there'll be a layer of plastic to keep the rain off, and then a layer of UV sun cloth over it to kind of limit how much UV radiation gets through this down to the seeds, because right now we're getting a whole boatload of radiation that's probably not good for seedlings. But I'll do some homework and get that up here in a little bit and give you guys an example of what it looks like. But it's time to deploy this bad boy out in the garden, and I'm going to build some soil blocks here in a little bit as soon as it cools off, and I'll show you some video of that. Looks like I got that tray system deployed out in the field just in time. Here comes our thunderstorm. Onkies, onkies! Run, babies! Alright guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and make some soil blocks now, and I'll kind of work through the process, show you guys a little bit of it. This is how I do it. There are different techniques of doing it. If you look online, there's all kinds of recipes that people publish about what they make their soil block material from. I'm not that anal, actually I am, but in this case, I'm just gonna kind of expedite through one. So what I used was 4 parts of a pre-mixed potting soil. It's already got some fertilizer in it, compost and whatnot. So 4 parts fertilized potting soil, 1.5, almost 2 parts of peat moss, and I didn't have any sand. I should put some sand in here. But instead, it's not going to do the same thing as sand, but I put 1 part of fine sawdust from the table saw. So soil, peat moss, and sawdust. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of mix it up here a little bit by hand, just to get it kind of incorporated in. So try to do it without making a big old mess. And the only other ingredient that you need to add is water, and quite a bit of water actually, because you want this soil to, once wet, you want it to take on the consistency of almost Play-Doh. And I'll probably toggle the camera off here in a couple minutes and get the water going and get it to a point where it's ready, and I'll come back up on camera and show you what it looks like. You basically want to be able to take a handful of this stuff when it's wet and squeeze it, and it stay in a ball. See, it crumbles out right now because it's dry, obviously. But when it's wet enough, it will take on the consistency of almost Play-Doh, which is what you want. All right, that's a little better. I think we got a manageable amount of soil. Now it's just a matter of mixing this stuff in. One of the things I learned online when I was studying other people, other folks on YouTube that were doing soil blocks, and it was kind of a consistent feedback. And they were like, you're going to be surprised how much water you have to add to it. Let's do a test. It's not bad. It's a little crumbly. So I'm thinking probably need more water. Yeah, more water. Ooh, big lightning. All right, so I think I got it. I think I got it right. Might be a little soupy, and if it is, I'll adjust it by adding a little bit more dry soil. It feels very wet. You're not gonna be able to probably tell on camera, but it's just very, very wet. But if you form a ball and squeeze it, so it kind of retains its shape, kind of what you want. So now the exercise is to take the soil blocker. All you really do is just kind of push it in. Really work it in and get it full. I like to kind of bring it up against one end. Nice and full. Set it. Voila! Soil blocks. Beautiful. Again, fill it up. Push it against the side. Just like making chocolate chip cookies. All right, guys, from that one double batch of soil, so recall I broke it in half, but from all that soil, I ended up getting 4 full flats of soil blocks, 80 blocks per flat. So what, 320 total. If you're not familiar with the blocks, again, that dimple hole is where you put a seed, and then each seed germinates in each block, and then when you go to transplant, you just take a little block out and stick it in the garden. Flat 1, flat 2, 3, and 4. Time to get these guys out in the garden, let them dry out a little bit, and we'll plant some tomorrow. Alrighty, we got the first 4 soil block trays deployed into the little greenhouse. I have to figure out whether or not I want to leave this thing covered. In this humidity, I don't think I do. But my challenge is I need to keep the chickens off the soil blocks, because God knows they will come in here and just rip this stuff up. So I have a homework assignment. Figure out how to keep the chickens out and keep the humidity out as well. We'll see. Look, those babies are learning how to roost. That's so cool. I love watching them learn stuff. Let's feed us some bees. think I'm going to go ahead and give them a second hive box as well. Yay! First thing I'm going to do is put a queen excluder on here because I don't want the queen in the top box. So far they're pretty, I'm not using a smoker, so far they're pretty dark. A second brood box on. I am going to put a feeder box on. Man, this has been a long day. I just can't wait. Look at that. Cool. They're, I can't tell what they're working on. But like I said, like so many days, this has just been a really long day and I can't wait to get out of uniform, as we say, and get into a cold bath or shower or something. Alright, you guys, this is a lot of honey. Don't you be eating it one day. Watch me spill it. Come and get it. Now that better last you a week. Pigs. That was 8 quarts. I probably got another 4 quarts in the kitchen. But that's a good start. These bees are really docile. I'm very happy about that. Alright, knuckleheads. There you go. I'm gonna swing the camera around here a second. I'm not sure why Hunter's, it's like the first time today she's being a good girl and doing the right thing without being told. Hey, Hooey. What's she doing, boobas? Good girl. I don't think I told you to stay out, but that was a good girl.